When it comes to drift racing games on the Switch, the age that it is, these are now 10 to a penny, and while most of them are low quality, low effort wastes of time and cash, CarX Drift Racing Online remains the best of the bunch in my opinion. Today though, we're not here to talk about that game, and instead we're checking out another one with Project Drift Japan Challenge, a game which apparently lets you drive legendary JDM cars down the mountain roads of Japan. But does it break the mould? Is it any good? And is it worth your time and cash? Well, drop a like, subscribe for more Switch content, and let's find out. So right from the get-go, the game drops you into a tutorial before you even get a chance to access the main menu, and the game initialises for about 30 seconds before loading you in. Here, we're taught how to accelerate, brake and turn as though we've never played a racing game before, and then we're taught about the game's drifting, which involves pressing the B button. As I tore around the first corner though, initiated a drift and was about to spin out, the tutorial promptly ended, and I was then taken back to the main menu with its horrendously low textures and poorly implemented lighting. Now, the game actually has two drift settings, the first being the B button activated mode, and the second an inertia activated mode, which much like your standard drift game activates when you accelerate into a corner at high speed and initiate a sharp turn, or at least in theory it does. As I quickly found out though, inertia mode is pretty much unplayable thanks to it being active almost constantly. So regardless of how little or how much you turn, you actually end up skidding all over the place like a toddler on a polished pond of piss. Even in the starter car, I found it almost impossible to drive in a straight line, which is either down to the controls being absolute shite or me just being wank at the game, and I know what I'm putting my money on. So far as the game modes go, in addition to the training mode, Project Drift has two. Those being the exercise mode, which according to the eShop is supposed to allow you to place as many AI vehicles as you want into the track and race against them. However, this mode does not in fact allow for this, and will in fact just drop you into a race against another single racer. The game's second mode, Battle Mode, also puts you in a one-on-one race against a single racer, with the objective being to race to the finish line before them, and there are a total of 5 different tracks to select from, each of which supposedly represent iconic drift routes from around Japan. Now upon starting any of them, you get a little intro sequence, which I presume gives you an overview of the track you're about to race. However, the resolution of these images is so low that you can barely make out the roads on most of them. As with the rest of the game, the texture quality within the tracks is also piss poor, with barely any detail at all offered to the masses of trees littering the sides of the tracks, whose leaves just end up looking like silhouettes, and when it comes to the popping, well, it's so bad that the trees and textures don't actually load until you're about 20 metres away from them, and the surrounding terrain actually encroaches on the track as you drive, only disappearing as you get within a few feet of it. The whole effect of it all presents a visual experience that is far worse than any PlayStation 1 era racer ever was, and in fact the tracks themselves are so generic that if they hadn't added the cherry blossom trees in, you wouldn't even know that you were supposed to be racing in Japan. That is of course if the textures even load in at all. Getting into the racing though, as you can probably tell from the gameplay footage, the game is barely playable, and this is not just me being shit at races because I tried to race well, but from what I experienced there are 2 main reasons for this. The first of these is that control scheme. Like I said, the inertia drifting is completely busted, which leaves you using the B button mode. However, unlike handbrake drifting, which in other games you could just tap to initiate a drift and maintain control of, drifting in this game activates upon pressing the button and stops when you release it. And this isn't a subtle activation at all. This will full on tear your arsehole sideways, which is far too excessive for most corners, and releasing it is just as abrupt. The drifting is so bad in fact that even your AI opponent finds it impossible to master too, and the both of you will just spend the majority of the race just smashing off walls, pinballing your way through the track until one of you crosses the finish line. You'll also frequently find yourself spinning out, being flipped around by collisions or careering straight over the barriers, And while the developers were kind enough to include a button to allow you to reset yourself back onto the track, they didn't even manage to implement this correctly, as it doesn't actually reset your face in the right direction, or no, you'll be reset back onto the track in whatever direction you were facing at the time. But despite all this, your opponent struggles so much that you'll usually catch back up to them with very little issue, and I managed to come in first place almost every race. The second issue with the game comes down to the track designs. And again, like I said, these tracks are incredibly generic with no defining features, and as expected are filled with repeated bends for you to attempt to drift around. But with no minimap to follow and a low set camera angle, you never know what's coming up next or how tight these bends are. Not that it actually matters though with the handling in the game, as none of the cars actually have any ability to corner even when you utilise your brakes. So you're forced to use the drifting mechanics, which result in you literally needing to smash your way around the corners faster than your opponent to win. Other than the visual variety though, there's nothing actually setting one track apart from another. So despite the game being advertised as a drift racing game with classic JDM drift cars and racetracks and controls which focus around drifting, there's actually nothing in its mechanics which promote drifting. No point system or game modes which incorporate it, and it's simply a straight up racer with slidey smashy wally cornering. The game's battle mode is the only mode which offers any resemblance of a progression system in the form of new cars for you to unlock. There are 6 of these in total, which see slight increases in speed and handling between them, each of which can then be customised with a variety of beautiful pastel toned colours, because the JDM Drift scene is all about those soft baby blues and muted oranges. But that's it so far as the cars are concerned, and none of them offer an improved driving or drifting experience. So, in short, Project Drift Japan Challenge is undoubtedly one of the worst drift racing games on the Nintendo Switch, even worse than some of the Midnight Works shite that I've played. And the eShop listing is just another example of a publisher not just being misleading, but rather downright lying to customers. Not only are the trailers and screenshots from a completely different platform, the majority of the description is also complete bollocks. The drift system is not addictive, it's completely broken, as is the apparently realistic suspension. The Japanese manga comic style graphics, whilst appearing to be cel shaded in the trailer, are absent in the Switch version, as are the amazing bystander replay system, the customised race exercise function, and the custom BMG function, which apparently would allow you to select your own music to play. And I suspect all of these things are left over from the Steam version of the game from which this Switch version is ported. But like the rest of the game, these lazy ass publishers have made no effort whatsoever with this one, and it's a simple copy and paste job through and through. If you're a fan of JDM racers and drift car racing games though, I recommend steering well clear of this one, and go pick up the aforementioned CarX Drift Racing online, because unlike this one, that one doesn't suck big hairy donkey nuts and is actually worth a look. That about does it though for this review of Project Drift Japan Challenge on the Nintendo Switch. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on it down in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Nintendo Switch content. But for now, thanks to the patrons of the channel and to you the viewers for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.